Hey guys, this is Kai. Okay, so I promised a binder update. I got about a 997. Yes, I think. The double compression, FtM Underworks, full length, extra long, blah blah blah, so on and so forth. And the first thing I did after I tied it on, you know, after the nervous breakdown that I had, I'm sick, my voice is a little croaky. It's gonna be a fun week. Anyway, even though it's Saturday, my week starts on Saturday. So, I tried it on, and I could not wear it full length. I have a rather protruding stomach, and because it's extra long, it's really uncomfortable because it sits under my ass, which is fine, except because of how my stomach is, it sits on my thighs. I have long legs and a short torso, so extra long is bad. So even though it didn't roll up, it dug into all the most awful places, and I just couldn't bear it. So I rolled it up, and I made a video which I showed the It's a Man's World channel privately, so they could give me some advice. It was fairly tight in the chest, in a good way. I didn't have the back problems that I had with the triple compression short binder, which number I don't remember, 988, something like that, which I talked about in an earlier video. So what I did was, to avoid dealing with the whole stomach issue and the fact that it was just so uncomfortable and I just couldn't, I sit sometimes for work and I just couldn't sit in it for more than 2 minutes before I was adjusting it, and it was just really awkward. So I did a triple roll. So I rolled it, remember, I think I folded the bottom and then I rolled the bottom, so there was a seam here and it pushed everything in, and I ended up with like 6 levels of compression on my chest, and it was sort of a mess in the back. So that was the first time I rolled it, and it was really comfortable. I wore it all night. It was really good. My family didn't mention it, so I don't know if it passed or not. But I was talking to the guys, and I figured I'd be brave, and I'd try to sew it up in that same sort of level of compression where I had like just 6 in the front and whatever. So I did a little sewing, which is not my forte. I'm utilitarian at sewing. I am not good about it, and I usually do it all by hand. So I did some of it by hand, and then I realized that my hand was cramping and it was going to take forever. So I borrowed my sister's sewing machine, and I didn't really know what I was doing, and I had to have her help me, but she's against the idea of me transitioning, so she was really hesitant. But I'm going to show you what I made, and I'm going to tell you my results and my reviews of what I did and what I think. Okay, so this is the double compression 997. It's really bright. I'm so sorry because the light's like literally on top of me. But I then did some magic and I rolled it up. So on the back, I left it a single layer. You'll notice that it's fairly see-through. All right, and on the front, it is hugely thick. See how thick that is? This is 6 layers of compression, guys. I made a boo-boo, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So the sides are still, there's too much light in this room. My monitor is too bright. But notice here how it's like, it looks a right mess. On this side, I've got a panel. Let me see if I turn on the light. Okay, so there's a little flap here, which I showed. Originally, when I was folding it on top, there was a seam right here that was slight, but it was driving me crazy. So I figured, if this is the front, this way, this is the front, and I put it underneath, maybe the double layer of compression would hide it. So I made a horrible mistake in that I cut it up. So this is actually loose on the inside. Notice that there's a flap, and the flap is a lot shorter than the length of the interior, and it's not attached, so when I put it on, it sags down because it's heavy, because it's 4 layers, so it sags, and that's not good. You don't want to do that. It fits like a shapeless sports bra. It is actually pretty comfortable. I wore it for like 6 or 7 hours today while I was hanging out with some people at my house. The bottom does have a really thick edge. So notice how thick that is. So when you put it on, you can notice that there's a seam underneath your cleat. My boobs are thin but long, like they hang. And so when I try to pack them and wedge them to the sides, they peak underneath. Oh, it's not good. There's a lot of layers, but because this part isn't taut, the front flap isn't taut, even though I did attach it under the arms. So this is all. I wish I could show you the seams. It's just the lighting here is terrible. See, it's attached. It's attached at the seams for the arms, and the sewing actually looks pretty good because I used a machine. It lost all of its tension, so it creates more of a uniboob as opposed to creating the natural cis male chest. It's very sturdy, and it's really easy to slip on because, you know, it's not far. And while it does hide things like weirdly shaped, like weirdly placed nipples, if you have a big chest that you have to pull in, it doesn't work. It just looks like you have a small, like a B-sized female chest. It's really comfortable, which is sad because that's what I wanted, but it's just not doing anything. Also, it tends to ride up, and you know, you have that weird cleavage at the bottom. And I just spent all day, I had to just ignore it, but I spent all day pulling, like packing. I had to keep pulling the interior thin lining. Originally I had this much longer. Like when I had it, it was actually riding kind of low and rolling up a little bit, but it just kept, because it's not affixed to anything. See, when you have it rolled up on itself, it kind of clings to itself, and it creates a lot of tension because it's holding around your entire body. Again, I didn't do this on me. I was just on the machine for like 5 hours, literally just sewing it without trying it on. So it lost a lot of its tension because it lost a lot of its length. And when it was rolled, the folds, when it folds, it creates a lot more tension. So actually folding it in on itself made it a really good binder. But when I cut it up and just attached layers that were sort of loose, it lost that. So it looks really versatile, and you can just like slip it on, and because it's so thick, it doesn't cling as hard. But again, that's kind of a bad thing. So whatever you do, don't cut up your binder and sew it together unless you really know what you're doing, because I didn't know what I was doing, and I was just affixing layers and shit. And my sister gave me the really bad advice of seaming the inside, which would have made it longer, but it was just like 4 pieces that were sort of flapping around. But by creating a seam, I lost some of that length so that it didn't really cover. It was like down here as opposed to being up here, which was originally. And making it a thick fold also made it move weird because it made it really heavy as opposed to being 4 thin layers that would stay up. So I may try to unseam that and see if it looks better. I don't know if it's going to work. The other option that I'm considering is literally stitching it to the front. So stitching all of this together, like loosening it up and stitching it together so that it creates more, you know, as opposed to being a weird interior flap that moves down. Try to keep it all in the same place and see if that helps. But I haven't tried that because it's a sewing machine stitch, so it's going to take forever to unravel it. But yeah, doing this is a horrible idea. I may also, and it's also, this is the length that it is, so I can't unseam the bottom and make it longer unless I unseam all of it, like just remove all the seams and then stick it lower, which would still make the interior lining not as good. So having it start at the shoulders, which is what they originally did with the double compression, would make more sense. Now if I cut this, I bought some more, but if I cut, because it fit and it was compressing enough, if I fold it again, instead of cutting it this time, but actually fold it, and then seam it to the armpit, and then remove the excess, that would make it the same, a little bit longer, like the right length, which was what I would want. Not make it uncomfortable under the armpits, again, what I want. Hopefully, and then give me 6 levels of compression. Will actually be like 3 levels of compression on the back and 6 levels in the front. But it would keep it in place so it wouldn't be riding up and down, and I wouldn't have to worry about it rolling or being uncomfortable or weird. I wonder if that would be a better option. I bought a pack of 3, so I may try that on one of them. If that doesn't work, I'll just keep the other 2 how they are and just roll them by hand. But, so for guys with big guts who may have awkward boobs, folding it may be the better solution than this. Now, once I try folding and then sewing, as opposed to cutting and then sewing, I will let you guys know how that went. But a lot of people just say, just put on a tank top and don't. But it's not the rolling that's my issue, it's the fact that it cuts into all the weirdest places. But I'm 62 around, and the 997 works. My breasts aren't huge, they're just pendulous. But this could be, it's very easy to slip on. So it could be an emergency binder, even though you are going to get a slight moob for big guys. This would be an interesting solution. It took me a long time to figure out what the hell I was doing. So I wouldn't recommend this unless you're a good sewer. But I just wanted to let you guys know I have never found a binder that fits. The 997 does fit. If length is an issue, rolling was really effective for me. And once I have a new one, they're coming in the mail. Once I have a new one, I will then show you the difference, how they look. I think I have videos of that somewhere so that I can maybe take stills. But that's just an option for you to see what you can do and what you shouldn't do. I marked the correct length for what I wanted, but after dealing with seams and sewing it all together, the length is not long enough. The grip goes away when you cut it, so I wouldn't recommend it for anyone unless you just want something really comfortable that sort of binds and is easy to slip on. But I tried to keep a seam on the back where I originally sewed all 3 layers on the back, and there's like a seam there. This is really awful lighting, but there's a little seam right here where I cut it. I hope that would give me a little bit more grip in the back. And I was originally going to do the 3 layers in the back, but it was just ending awkwardly, so I just cut them off and then I threw them away. But they're longer, so maybe I could sew them underneath inside. I mean, I'm still figuring it out, but I'm going to call this a failed experiment and give up on this one. But this makes me feel pretty sure that cutting up the triple compression and adding panels on the side might really fuck it up. But I just wanted to let you guys know what I've been up to, and that I did find a binder that fits, and that hopefully it fits you guys also. You can buy one for $34, or you can buy a pack of 3 on the 3X size. I bought the 3X. The triple compression runs 10 inches lower, like smaller, but the double compression runs 10 inches bigger. So that it's like a 55, 56 inches, which they say always run a little smaller to bind. So even though I'm 62 around, the 55, 56 inch does work. I haven't tried it at work, and I haven't tried it all day, but I can put it on and wear it sitting around for 6 hours. So that's step number 1, just finding something I can wear. But I did have to roll it up, like fold it, and that seemed to cling pretty good to itself. So heavy guys, and that's what every hairy guy I've ever heard say, 997, and I was like, but I couldn't fit the other one. The sizes are different. Logic. Packing straight in, just kind of going and kind of packing them in, does give you a sort of boob-like quality. Packing them down to the side does work, but it's weird for me, and because my arms are big, I have big arms, see? It sort of nudges them in, so I just have to go to the bathroom and just readjust them. Which, the problem was a lot less obvious in the folded. On this one, every 5 minutes I just have to keep tugging at things and readjusting. So, not good. Don't do it to yourself. Save your money. Just buy a binder and wear it, guys. Just buy a binder and wear it. The next option I'm going to try also is wearing it with a tank top or wife beater or t-shirt underneath, and then rolling it in on itself just over my stomach and seeing if that's comfortable. I hear that it digs, but I'm a doubting Thomas, so I'm going to try it out and see. And this video is already 15 minutes long, but don't do this to your binders, guys. It's bad. But it's a solution that might work if I just do the rolling. I don't know. I'll let you guys know. I'll let you guys know. My letter is being written by my therapist on Monday instead of a session. So I already paid for the session, but she's going to spend it writing my letter. So we're going to discuss my letter next Monday. Not the one coming up, but the one after that. And hopefully by then I'll know if I have a job and if I'll be moving to Ohio in April. And once I'm out there, tea. If I can't wait, I'll do it here, but we'll see what happens. Alright. Thanks for staying tuned, guys. And don't forget, Sundays on It's a Man's World FtM 1, which is coming up in 2 days. You'll see my second week video, which is about my partner, and I don't have one, but it's going to be fun and interesting. You should still watch. Have a nice night, guys.